Hola from the west side. It's me, DCThePurpleDiva, and welcome to Not So Random Chat. Happy Thursday, y'all. How are y'all? I see that we already have some folk in the chat room. How are you guys doing? Thank you for coming. And for those of you who do celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. We're going to be talking about Thanksgiving tonight, as a matter of fact. That's going to be my topic. I've already put everybody in my house in a comatose state from food. Yeah, they're all in coma right now. Food comas from the food. But we're going to have a good time. I got the music a little on the mellow side for y'all tonight. You know. But I wanted to talk about this Thanksgiving thing that we celebrate here in the United States. And I believe they also celebrated in Canada, but they celebrated it a few weeks ago. But I want to talk about it. And I think my brother DOD may be in the chat a little later on, and maybe he can give some more insight. But I'm going to start off giving you guys some of the myths that we have around Thanksgiving. So I hope y'all ready. I'll sit back, just chill, indulge DC for a minute. So the first myth I'm going to talk about. Hey, Outward Smart, how are you? Happy Thursday. I'm going over some myths about Thanksgiving. So I'm starting with the first one right now. The first myth is that the Pilgrims founded a settlement on Plymouth Rock. This is one of the, stories that we all got, but it's not true. The truth is that the Mayflower sailed to the New World, and they were going to start their life in Plymouth Rock, but that's not where they actually landed. They were supposed to go to Plymouth Rock, which is in Virginia. They ended up in Massachusetts. So that's the first inaccuracy of many. Next one I want to talk about. Now, actually, let me go into a little bit more in regards to that one. One of the reasons that they were trying to go to Plymouth Rock was because that particular area, let me see what I have here. Okay, Plymouth Rock was not unoccupied. That's where they wanted to go. And normally they had been sailing to New England, but they were trying to go to Plymouth Rock to go someplace different. But along the way, they got off course and they ended up in New England. So I'm going to go on to the second myth. The settlers were called pilgrims. Okay, so let's get into that. The pilgrim myth. When the pilgrims, and I'm putting that in parentheses, quotation marks rather, first arrived in New England, they were actually called saints or separatists. They were coming to the New World wasn't up just about religious freedom. It was about political freedom. History says that the settlers had found that in Holland, because this is where these people were actually from, where they were able to practice free religion without fear of violence, the so-called pilgrims actually came to the New World because they thought Holland was too secular and too easygoing. It was in the colonies that they hoped to have the type of life that they wanted. Historians believe that the first Thanksgiving in 1621 was a regular English feast celebration, but that's not true. Actually, how Thanksgiving started, it started as a mythical way to boost tourism in Massachusetts, in the New England area. And they painted the myth of it being a bloodless battle, and that the Indians, or Native Americans, willingly gave their land away to the colonies. And that's not the truth. Myth number 4 is that the Pilgrims invited the Native Americans to a big feast. In actuality, there's no evidence that there were any Native Americans actually at this quote unquote feast that happened in 1621. According to history, if any Native Americans actually did attend it, it was either members of the Wigapam tribe who lived nearby and heard the settlers were firing warnings towards the tribes, because the Wigapam leaders were trying to make diplomatic visits to settler villages. Basically, they were trying to keep peace with the settlers who were invading their land. Okay? Myth number 5, that there was a first Thanksgiving at all. And again, this is what I'm trying to tell you. This was a myth that was made up in New England later on as a way to have tourism in their area, because they were starting to feel irrelevant. Hey, AKA James, how are you? Happy Thursday. Going over some of the myths about Thanksgiving. Okay, so there's no real evidence that there was actually any real Thanksgiving event. It's commonly cited as a myth that there was actually a first Thanksgiving. It's all something that was actually made up as a celebration of like special festivals and events, basically to bring tourism into New England. And that myth eventually spread across the country. Myth number 6 is that the Pilgrims were nice to the Native Americans. Okay, so when the so-called Pilgrims first came to New England instead of Plymouth Rock, like people think they did, it wasn't a friendly encounter. Some of the things that were going on in that area were that a couple of the tribes were having issues, and they were trying to settle their differences so that they could stand up against the colonists that were invading their area. Because when the Pilgrims first came here, they brought all of these European diseases here, and those diseases wiped out a lot of the Native Americans. So I'm going to go on and talk about this a little bit more. The so-called Pilgrims were not prepared for the life in New England, so they compensated by raiding the graves and storehouses of the Native Americans. Yes, guys, they were cannibals. Cannibals. They were eating the dead remains of Native Americans from their graves to survive. That's part of the history that they don't tell us about. So, all right. So they later asked for help after they had done all of this atrocities. It's not really surprising that relations between the Pilgrims and the Wampum deteriorated after this quote-unquote first Thanksgiving, because they were stealing from the Indians. They brought their European diseases that the Native Americans were not used to, and a lot of them died from them. Myth number 7. Yeah, the cannibalism. Exactly, Matt. The Pilgrims were also super nice to Squanto. Okay. Tesquantum, who is often referred to in Thanksgiving stories as Squanto, did a ton to help the Pilgrims, like translate for them, help them to trade, taught them how to plant corn. But what most children didn't learn in history class is that Tesquantum was captured by the English and sold into slavery to Spain. By the time he escaped and returned to the New World, his entire tribe had died of smallpox, courtesy of the Pilgrims. Myth number 8. Thanksgiving immediately became an annual tradition. Okay. The 1621 event between the settlers and the Wampum tribe, which again may or may not have happened, was a one-time deal. Relations between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans deteriorated shortly thereafter. What is believed to be an annual tradition either didn't happen at all or ended after that very first year. A few years later, the settlers attacked the Wampum tribe in retaliation for murders of settlers that they believe the Native Americans committed by burning nearby villages, and the settlers killed around 500 Native Americans that day. The governor of Plymouth reportedly wrote that every Thanksgiving Day would honor the bloody victory. So that's what we're celebrating. Okay. Okay, myth number 9. Thanksgiving was a celebration of people coming together. This is probably the biggest myth of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was to remember the peaceful harvest celebration that brought two communities together. But the reality is that the relations between the Native Americans and the separatists were tenuous at best. And if they did dine together, it may have not been a willing. Further, what followed that dinner was a few hundred years of violent colonization, oppression of Native Americans in what is now America, the efforts of which is still visible today. One of the things that's really interesting is that one of the myths is that the Native Americans willingly gave their land to the colonists, but in the Native Americans' customs, they didn't have private property. They had community property. It was their country. So when the colonists or the Pilgrims, whatever you want to call them, bought from them, they interpreted that they were buying into their country, not that they were buying it from up under them. So they did not willingly give away their land. And that is one of the reasons why we have what is known as the King Philip War, where the Native Americans united together against the colonists and tried to fight back. And it was a slaughter. It was a slaughter. So a lot of the things that we're thinking about, there was never anything friendly in regards to Thanksgiving. At one point in our history, it was a day of fasting and prayer. Fasting and prayer to remember the slaying of Native Americans. Now, how do we get all the way away from that? How do we get all the way away from us remembering what the colonists did to painting it into this bloodless, friendly, they just gave us this land because they wanted to kind of situation? It's none of that. It's a very commercialized holiday that basically covers up what really happened and makes it this nice kumbaya situation so that people who are descendants of the first, colonists that came here can have a clear conscience about how their ancestors really got the land. Hey, Terry, how are you? Happy Thursday. Yeah, I just went over 9 myths about Thanksgiving and just kind of giving some realization as to what we are celebrating. We're celebrating people who were cannibals and stole bodies out of graves and stole stuff out of storehouses from the Native Americans to survive before they asked them for help. Oh, there's another myth. Another myth is that the quote unquote pilgrims were the Native Americans' first contact with Europeans. The truth is that some of them already spoke English because there had been other Europeans who had been coming back and forth, staking out, North America prior to that. So they already spoke English. They already had some who understood English. So it was not any situation of them not understanding English and being these dumb Native Americans. They fought to keep their land. And they were defeated really more by the diseases that the Europeans bought than anything else. So, obviously I'm not against celebrating, Thanksgiving if you want to. You have that as a day of, getting together with your family and everything. I just want to make sure that when we're doing this, that we just know the real true history of the day and know that it's really not a day of celebration because nothing good actually happened. And in all actuality, the first Thanksgiving feast may have never even happened. It's possible that it was totally made up, a total fabrication to bring tourism to New England, to make them relevant, and then, to make it something like a bloodless way that, you know, we came into this country, or America was started, and that mythical tradition just carried on and went across the country. But it really didn't start to be really celebrated as a national holiday until close to the 20th century. After Reconstruction, it was a way of bringing the whole country together in unity after the Civil War. So I wanted to kind of go over that, you know, really to kind of give some, you know, real clarity as to what this day is truly about. Not to bash anybody for celebrating, because, you know, most of us, you know, we like to have a nice meal and like to be around our family on this day, and most of us have it off. So even if you don't celebrate it, you got a day off. But I just want us to know, you know, what it's really about versus, you know, all the parades, you know, with the turkey, you know, and, you know, all the Thanksgiving pageants that schools put on when we were kids and everything. We just need to be woke and know what really happened. I mean, because believing that myth puts a mark, you know, mars the history of the Native Americans. It makes it sound like their history started when they met the quote unquote pilgrims, like they weren't already here and didn't have a history that went past that. We don't know anything about it because all we know is this myth. That's very, very true. I mean, you know, I mean, when we get closer, you know, to Christmas, I mean, you know, I celebrate for one reason, but I recognize that that's not when Yeshua was born, you know, and it really has nothing to do with him. You know, it's all about Santa Claus and all these other crazy things that they've made up, you know, but today is supposed to be about something that is from American history. And we just need to know that what history tells us is not the truth. You know, we just need to know that it's that we're not being given the truth. A lot of the things that are being said, you know, it's to make, I don't want to make this a race thing, but since my people weren't even part of the situation, it's something to make people who are of English descent, because I guess that's who we're going to put this on, feel better about how their ancestors acquired the lands, you know, to ease their conscience, you know, to ease people's conscience about how our country was founded. But it was founded on the blood of other people that were already here. This is how most countries are done, just like how we talked about yesterday, you know, with the state of Israel. How people get their land is by taking it and overpowering another people and making that their land. Yeah, well, you know, Matt, I have Cherokee in my family too. I have Cherokee and Blackfoot. You know, but I mean, I know the real history of the day, you know, and so I wasn't a party pooper. I waited until tonight to have that conversation about it, which is what I was trying to tell Deacon of Defense is that I do want to have that education out there about what the day is really about, you know, You know, I don't want people feeding into the myth. You know, yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. You know, because you know, you have people who obviously are Black and have Native American in their history. So yeah, they're being hit in 2 points from that perspective. And then also we have a distorted view of the actual history of this country. It's not all rosy. It's never rosy in how a nation is started, you know? And there's always been this myth that the Native Americans were stupid, you know, and that they just, you know, gave up their land without a fight. And that's not true. Hey, Alma's Kitchen, how are you? Happy Thursday. We're just talking about we're talking about some of the myths about Thanksgiving and just really talking about the truth about, you know, what this day is really about versus what people celebrate. So, you know, like, I know we like all had our nice meals today, because whether you celebrate Thanksgiving or not, most of us got our eat on today if you live in the United States, you know, and there's nothing against that, because a good meal is a good meal, you know, but we just want to be, you know, a lot of people use this day to be thankful for things that they have in their lives, you know, and just, and I think that that's probably a better expression for this day, you know, to have it to be a real day of Thanksgiving versus dealing with, you know, this myth that there was some kumbaya, you know, dinner between the Native Americans and the settlers at Plymouth, and that this is something that's kept going when that didn't happen. You know, it's just, you know, it's just, as we well know, there's a lot of things that are in our history books that are definite errors. A lot of things that are definite errors. You know, and this is one of the ones that, you know, a lot of people really do know that the Thanksgiving myth is not true, you know, but it does continue to be perpetrated every year when they you know, come out with the pilgrim images and everything. And it's just better for us to deal with it, you know, from the perspective of knowing what's really the real. I hear you. I hear you. Well, I had some turkey. We had some turkey from the Honey Baked Ham store. You know, it was off the chain. Had mac and cheese that I made from scratch, gumbo, you know, all the, you know, good stuff. You know, but it was just, for me, I mean, literally we sat around here watching TV, watching the games and everything, and just having a good time, you know, chilling. I talked to my dad, talked to my sister, you know, and talked to my brother, who I talk to hardly ever, but miraculously, he is sitting down with family in Atlanta, where he lives, and I was glad about that, you know, that he's not by himself today. You know, so for me, it's more about a day about family. And I think if people looked at it from that perspective, I think it probably would be a good day to celebrate family. I just don't think we should be celebrating, it as some mythical celebration between the Native Americans and the early settlers. Yeah, whatever they were, pilgrims, and that's the thing. They were separatists or saints. I don't even know where the pilgrim name came from, because that's not what they called themselves. They didn't call themselves that. Somebody gave them that name later on. Yep, somebody gave them that name later on. I'm gonna drop a link in the down into the chat if anybody wants to come up. So let me just do that. And if anybody wants to come up, feel free. One second. All right, there. All right, I dropped the link in the chat. So if anybody wants to come up and give their perspective or anything, I am all for it. Yeah, we didn't eat the pie yet. I made 2 sweet potato pies. I'm making 2 sweet potato pies. They're actually going in the oven. Yep. We ate everything else. Everybody's full from everything else. Yeah, like I said, it was just a nice day with family. Close, and people that are close to us. Just hanging out. And I'm glad I got tomorrow off with pay. I'm not complaining about that at all. Hey, Ledford, happy Thursday. I just finished my portion and stuff in regards to Thanksgiving, giving a lot of the histrionics of what it really is. But I dropped the link in the oh, there's Terry. Hey, Terry.
Hey. Hello. Good evening. How are you?
How are you? DLD, I dropped the link in the thing if you want to come up too.
Can you hear me very well?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn the music down. Just give me a second, okay?
Well, that's not why, but okay.
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
Okay, because I know I listened to the playback of
you
live.
were in and out a little bit last night.
Yeah, that was terrible, man. I didn't know I was doing that. I have to get this is I'm on my cell phone.
Okay.
But I do have a computer, but I have to get an external microphone though.
Okay.
I really do. But just give me a second. I'm gonna put some earbuds on. Maybe that'll make it better.
Okay.
Hold on. A second here.
All right, that's fine. That's fine, Ledford. But yeah, I went over some of it before you came to the chat. Just dispelling the myth that they even called themselves pilgrims. They were separatists. Talked about the smallpox. Talked about them killing the Wagapons. I hope I'm saying that right. Wampanoags. I think that's the tribe that was in the New England area. Yeah. And how they thought they were going to Chesapeake to Virginia, and they ended up in New England. I can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you. All right, yeah. Is Deacon of the Fence here tonight?
He is, but he says he's just going to listen.
Oh, okay. I know he.
I thought he. Yeah, I mean,
I was
And he
gonna.
spelled and he spelled. You see how he spelled America?
Let me check that out.
He spelled the KKK. He's so silly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right, right. Yeah, I do that sometime myself, by the way.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah,
that's
I do
funny.
that. Yeah, so yeah, Thanksgiving, yeah. Well, I mean, it just goes to show the historic pattern of deception that Europeans have used as a tool to get what they want. I mean,
Yeah, they sure kept that
this,
cannibalism out of there, didn't they?
yeah, I mean, they use deception, so in a big way. I think that happened. I believe it was 1621. I believe, and it
Exactly.
was at the Plymouth. Can't remember what. I guess the Plymouth
Plymouth,
area of the United States
yeah,
that time.
Plymouth, Massachusetts versus Plymouth, Virginia.
Right,
You know, so
Plymouth.
they
Yeah.
thought they were going to They thought they were going to Virginia, and
Right.
ended up in Massachusetts. You know, but the other myth is that there's been a Thanksgiving forever. You know, because if you notice, if you look at movies that they even have, like movies that are from prior to the 1900s, there's people having Thanksgiving when Thanksgiving didn't even
Right.
exist until close to the 20th century.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine it was a European creation.
It was a
I'm
cool.
sure it was.
Well, from what I'm looking at, um, after the Civil War between the North and the South, they decided to start having it. It wasn't made such a national holiday, but it was made like
Right.
a day, basically, so that they would have more unity within the country. That was what it was about
Right.
when they established it, but it wasn't really established as a national holiday until after, I believe, Lincoln died, closer to 1900. And then by the 20th century,
Right.
it was a national holiday for,
Right. Well, white people in general never knew a treaty that they didn't break. At one point, the count was 686 broken treaties amongst all the Native American nations in the Western Hemisphere. So it's no surprise at all, sis.
Yeah, and
All through the history, that's all they've done.
They did have an agreement with the Native Americans when they first came.
Right.
That is true. They did have some type of agreement. The thing is that agreement that they had in 1621, it rapidly deteriorated, and in the end,
right.
There were Native Americans who died, from smallpox and other European bacteria that they brought over here, with the rats that jumped on the boats with them.
Right.
I'm just saying, because that's who brought it over here, the rats, and then the Native Americans. I have to make myself not say that. The Native Americans really fought to try to keep them from taking the land by force. It wasn't a friendly kumbaya. They didn't just give them the land. When they figured out that they had been deceived, they fought back.
Right. I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know what, Leper, we all know about the 4th of July debate as to whether that's when the country was actually established.
Yeah, I call that 4th of the lie.
Yeah,
That's what that
but
is.
I was like, since I wasn't doing videos at that time of this year, we'll take that one on next year.
Absolutely.
I said,
Definitely do that.
I said, we already got to we got to get through Thanksgiving, and then I have to decide when I'm going to talk about the celebration of Christmas and this commercial holiday that has absolutely nothing to do with the birth of Jesus, and then also talk about Kwanzaa and its craziness as well.
Right.
Just talk about all this stuff, just educate our people, make sure they have a happy holiday, but make sure that they're woke. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely makes for interesting discussion at the
I
very
know.
least.
And I didn't want to, and that's why I waited until today. I didn't want people to feel guilty or anything, but the the truth is that it's not a day that we should be celebrating. It really is a day
Right.
that we should be fasting and praying about how our country was founded
Right.
and how and all the lies and deceptions that it took. But again, it's you can compare this somewhat to how the Zionists took over the state of Israel.
Right.
They ran.
Absolutely.
I mean, they didn't even give those people. They didn't even give those people any money. They just pushed
Similar
them
pattern.
out there. Like at least the
Right.
Native Americans got a little something.
Right.
Yeah, DLD decided he doesn't want to come up. He doesn't want
Okay,
to.
no, that's all right.
He doesn't want to bring controversy to my platform.
No, I really wanted to hear his analysis.
I do
Um,
too.
there's definitely some historical situations to note throughout history. Definitely, that's one of the first. But the colonies were already established by 1619. You had the propriety colonies, and then you had the crown colonies as well in United States. The 13 original colonies at that particular point in time. So that wasn't the first time there was
And these people
Native
weren't
Americans
even
saw
from
white people
England. They
in the
came
first
from
place.
Holland. They came from
Right,
Holland.
right. So that wasn't. So they try to make it as if that's the first time they saw the white man. That's just not true. I mean,
They,
they were already here at the time.
they already and that's one thing. The
As I
Native
just
Americans
mentioned.
already spoke English.
So
They already
right,
knew how to speak English.
right. So yeah. So it did, but yeah, because of prior contact, absolutely. So that's one of the myths that you see. Another myth is that when they did sort of give them some sort of stipend for the money, I believe these nations thought that they were buying into their particular system or
Yeah,
their
that's
particular
exactly
nation,
what
and
I
not
was
just.
saying. They
Oh, you said that
believed
earlier. Oh,
in
okay.
property. They didn't believe in
Yeah,
private property.
that was it just to encroach upon the land and take it and then make institute another system and push them out. And that's really what it was. It's that systematic land theft that was beginning as one of the first moves moving west, sort of the precursor of Manifest Destiny. Really, is what that was. And so,
That's the truth.
uh,
Our entire
but
country is
yeah,
stolen land. Our entire country is
right,
stolen land.
right,
Let's just be real.
right. You fast forward to 1831, the Trail of Tears, when they uh, forced a movement of 60,000 uh, Native Americans from southeastern part of the United States to, I think, somewhere on the other side, or I guess that would be the west side of the Mississippi River over there, because they wanted to move them out for settlements for whites. 60,000, 4,000 of them died. Hunger,
Mhm.
cold, disease, that kind of thing, as usual.
Because they
So
took
that
from the
we're talking
land that they had lived on for thousands of years and put them someplace else.
right, right, and there's actually a map of the nations that cover the entire Western Hemisphere. They already knew where their land was in terms of their borders. I've seen that. I've seen this map before. I don't know if it's online though. I actually seen a copy of it some years ago. Years ago, it was a copy of I'm talking about from Canada
Yeah,
all the
and
way down to South
that's what I
America.
was talking about. Is that the Native Americans that were here, all of the different tribes, none of them, they weren't. People assumed that all of the Native Americans were literally different peoples.
Yeah, they had their own treaties amongst themselves.
Yeah, they
Though
were all different
they really
people.
did.
They were that had lived, and they didn't necessarily live in harmony. They had their own political issues and everything, but they banded together against the
Right.
colonists.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So they already had a system. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I said the thing is that they did not have private land ownership. Everything was community land ownership. So
Right.
what the Native Americans believed when the quote unquote pilgrims, gave them money, what they, they didn't really give them any real money, but that's another story. But what they gave them, they thought that they were buying into their community land system. And
right.
That's, and the thing is that the
not to take it and start another system altogether.
But the settlers
right.
Knew what they were doing. They deceived them into believing that they were buying into their system.
Right.
It was a deception. It wasn't that the Native Americans were stupid. It's that they were lied to.
Right.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Now I'm looking at the chat.
Oh, okay. Let me look at it as well. I haven't seen it.
I was looking at the chat. No, I think he googled the Trail of Tears. What you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is that from coast to coast, it just when we think about Thanksgiving, we have to think about what the reality is that we're celebrating a day. We're basically celebrating the massacre of one people in order for another people to have their land.
Right. Absolutely. Really, people consciously or unwittingly become collaborators to that. Whether they know it or not. That is the truth. As I said, the last count I saw, and it's probably larger, to the tune of 686 broken treaties from the U.S. government to any, one of many of the Native American nations that exist in the United States.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And that's the reason why, in this day and age, that's why they have so much autonomy on their own lands, and they don't trust nobody on those quote unquote tribal lands and everything that they have now.
Right.
But it's still only a handful of the actual tribes that existed that have those tribal lands now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're definitely on reservations by and large as well. They've moved around. When the government finds some resources that they want, they'll move them somewhere else. That's what it is. That's how these treaties are systematically broken over and over and over and over again. You know what I mean? They're really at the mercy. Really, in fact, they're under and you may know this, they're under the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and that's basically just to ensure that these people are controlled. They've been, as a matter of fact, they've been situations in the 20th century where I've studied that these people get fired upon by Bureau of Indian Affairs agents, FBI agents going there. You know, they're killing folks, and they have at one point they started to organize themselves amongst the Indians under what was called the International Indian Treaty Council of the Western Hemisphere. Out of that became the American Indian Movement. You probably heard of AIM. Very, very interesting. AIM, yeah, AIM is a still around now. A revolutionary group that I've worked with. I've worked with some of the people. I don't know if you know who Russell Means. You ever heard of him?
Name
You might
sounds
want to.
familiar.
Yeah. Look him up. But Richard Longfellow. But you know.
Oh, Richard Longfellow. Yeah, I know that name. Definitely.
Right. I met him some years ago. So yeah, I'm definitely aware of that, sis. And
Yeah,
it's really a human rights violation.
DOD is saying down in the chat that most won't even carry a $20 bill because of what Jackson did to the Native Americans.
Right. Talk about the Seminoles now in Florida. Oh, absolutely. I know about that too. I think he killed about 20 or 30,000, I believe. When he was in charge as a general, he was in charge of the expedition and went down there and cleaned out tens of thousands of Seminoles. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, these people are murderers, you know. They're murderers.
Absolutely.
They're the genocidal maniacs, and you know they get stars, and you know they get accolades, and they get lionized and held right. They get held as these elder statesmen. You know what I mean? Once you start looking, you know, after the sanitized version that you get in school, as we're doing here, as you and I have done, I'm sure. Then you get to see the you strip it down, you see the stink. You know, you see the rot. You know what I mean? The bedrock of this entire system down there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really.
I mean, just
it really disgusts me. You know, it really does.
Think about it.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Think about how long it took for us as a nation to stop celebrating Columbus Day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still celebrated somewhat, but they have finally come to the realization that man didn't discover squat.
Right.
But that's just in the last 20 years. Just in the last 20 years. So, and once again, he's the one who started calling the natives that he saw down in the Caribbean Indians. And then they just called them all Indians. They just called them all Indians, no matter where they were.
Right.
Because he foolishly thought he was in India. And that's why I try to make myself not say it, because you know, even though, you know, we know who we're talking about, it's really not a proper term for them, because that's what somebody else is called. The people who actually live in the country of India.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, the thing is that most of the things that our country celebrates are not days that are based on anything positive. Even though they want to put a positive spin on it, you know, I mean, yeah, because we can go into the quote unquote 4th of July, you know, we can go into the Boston Tea Party, we can go into each one of those different acts that happen in our in American history and pick it apart and pull out the truth.
Absolutely. With comparative ease.
Exactly.
I might add.
You know, I mean, but the thing is that the truth is out there. It's not hidden, but some people don't want to deal with the truth, and that's fine. I mean, I just want to know. It's like, for better or worse, like it or not, I'm an American. This is the country that I was born in. This is the country that I live in. So why wouldn't I want to know the real deal about my country's past?
Right.
Why wouldn't I want to know the real history? Because by knowing that real history, I also learned the real history of my own people who were enslaved, but what their real contributions were. So it's a win-win situation for me. It's knowledge.
Agreed.
Oh, we got a troll. We got a troll. We got a troll. We got a troll in here. Okay. I don't know what they said.
Can't see him.
Yeah, I can't see it because he hit it. I have to wait for it to come through.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I see it. Mellow.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
Thank you, Leopard. Ugh. That is just
It's
so
absolutely nothing.
And what are we
Absolutely nothing to do with this live stream.
Exactly. And what are we talking about? Are we even talking about anything that I tell you? That's why I tell everybody, like, if you're gonna go live, just make sure you have mods, because it doesn't matter what you're talking about, the trolls come out, especially and it doesn't even matter what time of day you're doing it. They're around 24 hours a day. You can come on early in the morning, you'll get a troll. You can come on late at night, you'll get a troll. And it's the holiday, for a lot of these people. So, hey, they don't have to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that was pretty disgusting.
True.
That was pretty disgusting.
True. Yeah. And so a lot of this truth here is, as we can see, obviously it's hidden, and their history is sanitized, and that's actually what they promulgate in the educational apparatus here. And they kind of feed that over and over again on the media, print media, news media, in speeches. And so they institutionalize these lies over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Well,
and this is where we,
I was going to say, surprisingly, when I went out just doing Googling, just looking to see what was out there. The New York Times has written an article every year for the last 3 years about what Thanksgiving really is versus what people celebrate. Every year,
right,
for the last 3 years, they posted an article in their newspaper like the week before Thanksgiving. But nobody's going to pay attention to that. But that's the only major news outlet that I saw it coming from. The New York Times. That's it. I didn't see any other news outlet when you Google it. Everything else, little obscure things where you find history pages to give the the information or those kind of articles. So I just wonder when they're going to change it in the history books, or change or stop having kids doing pageants with pilgrims and the Indians having a Thanksgiving dinner. That's ridiculous. It didn't happen like that.
But I think it goes along with the current of these 400 years. They victimize people of color. I don't think they could extricate themselves even if they wanted to at this point. I think they're hostages to the lie at this particular point. You know what I mean? I think it's going to just take an outside force. If we were serious, we would organize for that. But at this juncture, since we're not, I don't think so, sis. I think they have to continually do that generation after generation. It kind of bolsters the foundation of what the lies are over and over. Obviously, if you tell a lie long enough, and this is what they did in Nazi Germany, by the way, people will believe it as a truth.
It took forever for them to even admit that they did something. They tried to say
they.
I'm like,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm like, how do you explain away concentration camps and say that that it didn't happen?
Right.
When there's pictures.
Right.
Film.
You know, they're not gonna talk about it. You know, they're not gonna bring it up as that, not the raw uncut history. That's the problem. Everything will be sanitized and forgotten about, and as future generations come up, they won't know themselves unless they're so inclined to do so. And they're not inclined to set the record straight. If they tried to live on the basis of truth, they would lose every time. And these people, as you well know, we've established the fact that these people are about power first and foremost. Everything else is secondary.
I wonder if this myth is part of what they teach people when they have to become go to become United States citizens. If they give them this stupid myth about Thanksgiving, is part of about the settlers is part. I'm serious about the Pilgrims is part of the history of the country. I'm just wondering if they give them this silly myth along with everything else.
Good question.
I don't know anybody that became a United States citizen, but if I meet somebody, I'm gonna ask them.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah,
somebody's
got a green card that's moving toward being a citizen. Yeah, that would be a good idea to do that. I might do that myself.
Yep.
It's very, very interesting, but absolutely, what they did at the Plymouth area, United States, it was straight up deception and land encroachment, land theft, no doubt about it. You know what I mean?
As was every other piece of land that we had, because even the lands that that the English conquered, from the French and from the Spanish, all of those lands were Native American lands before either the French or the Spanish had them either. So it's the same thing. Right. All the lands were stolen.
Right. You'd be surprised. I would ask anyone who's interested in the chat, try to get your hands on an ancient map of the Native American borders as they existed in the Western Hemisphere before the European took over here. And you'll see they actually agreed on certain, down to Texas. They were all, obviously we all know they were all different nations, but they all had their frontiers. They really did. They understood where their borders were. They really did in terms of the terrain, as such. And of course that was systematically undermined over time, obviously. And you'll be surprised. And it starts from South America.
I know.
All the way up to Canada.
I know.
So I just want to let the people know, those who don't know.
That's what that's
you'll be surprised.
That's the point that I'm making, is that all of these lands, and I'm wondering, I wonder what the Canadian Thanksgiving is about. Are they celebrating about the same daggone lie that we do? Let me look that up while we're talking. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay.
I'm looking.
All right.
I'm looking. Because
right. Excuse me.
Because
that's a good idea.
I forget that Canada celebrates Thanksgiving too. Canadian Thanksgiving. Canadian.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
I believe. Excuse me. If I'm not mistaken, I remember reading, and I can't remember right now because it was briefly some years ago. So foreign countries actually celebrate Thanksgiving as well. It was funny to me. I didn't take it as serious at the time, but I do remember that. And I want to say some European countries, and I think it's a country in Africa or two as well. Do you believe that?
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah, I can't remember which one. Yeah, it was like in the 90s. I saw this.
Okay, so I'm looking up.
I was like, what?
Okay, so I'm looking up ways that their Thanksgiving is different from ours. First of all, it's in October, not in November.
Oh, okay. But is it for the same reasons though?
That's what I'm getting ready to say.
Discovery of the United States.
Tell you.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it honors a different Thanksgiving, so it's not about the same thing. The date of the true first Thanksgiving is hotly contested, blah blah blah. But their Thanksgiving is about when theirs is talking about Canada. And when the Canadian territory was in 1578.
Interesting.
And they observe it on a Monday. It's observed on the second Monday every October. And they moved it to that date in 1957. The government settled that it was going to be in October. They don't have nothing about turkey. Turkeys don't have nothing to do with Thanksgiving in Canada. And it's not an official holiday in Canada. So not all of Canada celebrates Thanksgiving. They don't do, like the Black Friday and all that kind of stuff that we do here in America. So let me look at another one because I'm still trying to figure out but theirs has to do with when Canada was settled. But it was England, definitely. Okay, let me look. One more place. Just to see. I'm looking to see what it says. Canadian Thanksgiving falls on the second Monday in October, the same day as American. So this year it fell on the same day as that we celebrated Columbus Day. That's funny. And so their Thanksgiving is about harvest. It's about the harvest. Which is what we're quote unquote told ours is about. It's about the harvest. So theirs is about the harvest. That's all I'm seeing. Don't have nothing has nothing to do with pilgrims, has everything to do with the harvest.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which ironically is what we were initially told what it was about is that they were thankful for the harvest that they got. They barely had a harvest. It was they barely had anything, and most likely if any Native Americans were there, they brought their own food.
Right. Isn't that something?
They brought their own food.
I don't think the Europeans had anything. I don't think the Europeans had anything when they got here.
They barely had a crop.
Yeah, they had to be taken care of by the Native Americans initially.
Initially, that's exactly what happened.
Those people in the Mayflower.
Yeah, and then they turned around.
If I'm not mistaken, the people in the Mayflower came here with diseases and influenza and things of that nature, sores on them,
and their rats along with them.
From the yes, absolutely.
Their rats.
So
I'm just saying because that's that's what the history says is that's how the diseases got into the natives. It was from the rats came and animals ate the rats and the animals that they killed had eaten the rats, so then therefore it got into them.
Right. Imagine, if you will, if we all lived based on the truth, they'd be on the bottom. Be honest with you, they would.
Yeah, but that wouldn't serve them. I mean, everything.
They do everything based on
everything
falsehoods, though.
Everything that they have, as far as they have, the colonization is all ill-gotten land stolen from other people. And that's all over the world. I'm not even just talking about in America. I'm not even just talking about here. Everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, with the exception.
Where there's people everywhere where there's people of color, yes.
I can't even say with the exception of China, because you have Hong Kong that Britain was all up in.
Yeah, specifically people of color, absolutely.
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
I was going to say China, but I said no, I can't even say China. No, they have been everywhere. They put themselves in every. I mean, the only thing that really saved the majority of China, with the exception of Hong Kong, was because they had up that Great Wall. They protected themselves from everybody else. That was their protection.
Yes, that it was.
That was their protection. And they have the largest army in the entire world. So nobody messes with them. Nobody is messing with China.
Right.
Even the crazy person that we have in office, the only thing we don't want is nobody wants China to deal with Russia for that very reason, because
right,
yeah, they're self-sufficient. Of course, you do know that in they're having issues in China as far as they don't have enough girls. They have no girls. Because
actually, no, I did not know. I didn't know that.
We'll see what was going on. And I know, guys, we kind of exhausted Thanksgiving for the moment, but but here's the thing: is that that for a long time it was all about having a boy and everything, But the thing is that by doing that, by them, killing the girls, or leaving them up on a mountain, all kinds of crazy things, and them also limiting them to only having one child. Yeah. So now we have the issue that you have all of these boys that have no girls to marry. So they're looking for brides outside the country.
Yeah.
Looking for nice Chinese girls in the United States. Seriously.
That would be a logical move, I guess.
Seriously, they're doing that. I just thought that was actually
interesting.
I thought that was actually interesting, due to their own birth control.
That's right. What is it about? Over 3 billion people?
Yeah, so they have,
Chinese people on the earth.
They have the birth control.
Somewhere along there.
Yeah, they have a birth control.
I believe,
more than a certain. They're limited in how many kids they can have, so that they don't overpopulate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We don't have that problem.
They have a strong nationalism about their country, though. I appreciate that. No one's going to control China but Chinese. That's final. I like that. That's something that we have to learn. We have to take a page from that. Even though it's dominantly negative, even the Khazars, we take a page, not in terms of conquest, mind you, but certainly a unified nation in terms of a strong economy, strong military, strong international agreements and treaties, and really a first place in the nationhood in terms of the actually political order of the earth.
And I was going to say,
we can take a page from that.
I was going to say that if that was what this president was really promoting, he would have people behind him. But we all know when he talks about nationalism, that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about national pride and everything, because here's the thing.
Well, I'm talking about black people, though. I'm not talking about. But okay, I'm excluding them. But okay.
And then the problem is that within our country, our country, unfortunately, this is our country of origin. And within our country of origin, you have so many different people in here of different ethnicities. I'm just going to say ethnicities because there's no such thing as races. But we don't have any strong cultural roots because that was all stolen from us, like other groups do. So I think that's one of the things that counts against Blacks here in the United States is that we can't find what is our commonality besides slavery to come together.
We're Africans.
But you know,
it's in the blood.
But you know,
doesn't have to be. It doesn't.
A lot of us consider
it doesn't have to be in a location.
Africans, you know.
That's where we are. We're at. Yeah, it's in the blood. It has nothing to do with location. It's in the blood. That's the common link, sis.
I know, but I'm saying
that's the common link.
But I'm telling you, I'm speaking it the way that how you hear some of our people talk. You know, they don't.
Oh, absolutely.
They don't. And I think that's what I'm saying. That's what the issue is. Is that they don't have.
I'm familiar with the.
Yeah, they don't have that. They don't have. They don't have the connection to the continent. They don't feel it. You know, they don't feel it.
Yeah, but that's the political conditioning. Once you break the yoke of that, you know that those particular ideas have no value. Of course, they never had me in the first place. I always knew something was wrong. But what little of a yoke I had, I kicked off of me years ago. They can't tell me that I'm not African. I'm an African in America, and we all are. But we're not thinking in our own interest. That's the problem. We're thinking in. See, we think that we may disagree here at some point. Mm-hmm. See, the interest of this country and its policies is not our interest, whether we like it or not. Even though we participated more and went, fought in all the wars, we did all the things we can do. We've exhausted what we have done to be accepted, and we're not. And we still keep trying. So to me, all you basically see in varying degrees is us surviving. It's a matter of that. It's a matter of that survival. We're not in power here. I think, if nothing else, it indicates what the last 400 years. If you just look at that, the pattern is very, very clear. You know what I mean? Strategically, here we are. We have to do what we have to do to live. But the fact of the matter is, if we want power, Africa's got to be free first. It still gets back to that, even though you never have to go there.
I recognize
that has to be so. I have to. My loyalty has to be to that. I'm here because, as an ancestor of those that were brought over here to pick cotton, and that's really the truth. That's really the raw naked truth of the matter. All of us really here, even though we may not want to, we may spin it in our minds, and and they feel insulted in some cases and unaccepting in others. The fact of the matter is, that's why we're here. There's no other reason for that.
There's a very small percentage of us that have ancestors that were always free. There's a very small percentage of Black people in America whose ancestors were always free. Like, part of my family was not slaves, but part of my family was. You know what I'm saying? Because part of my family, part of my family came from the Caribbean. So where they were, they had mixed with them, so they weren't in slavery in that part of the Caribbean. But the rest of I
understand, but
the rest of my folk were in slavery. So
right, and the fact of the matter is, it doesn't mean that they're exempt from white supremacy because of that. It doesn't distinguish anything. It's just that you weren't on the plantation. That's it.
Because the reason
I guarantee you, if they went down, if they went down south during the time they were wherever they were up north, they'd have been in one of them plantations. So see, it doesn't matter.
Right, and
that to me, that's not a distinction.
No, but my point is that the only difference between that part of my family and the part of my family that's from the United States is that the boat went someplace else. That's not even the Cuban part.
Oh, absolutely.
Is the boat went
that is a fact.
Else.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That is a fact. I agree with that. Yeah, to that degree. But I just think we have to look at the fact that how our people have been treated. Not only that, but if you look at the creation of the ghettos, late 19th century, early 1900s, the acculturation of the ghettos, and then the socialization process. I think when you look at the acculturation process, you get some of these people who basically you see today. I think we're seeing a sort of a consequence of what has happened to our people. And I think the only way we get it back, I just don't think, let me put it this way. I don't want to go into a long diatribe. Let me just say briefly that I don't believe that we can get it back in the reform of those who control this country, who still want to continue status quo with us on the bottom. I just don't.
Yeah,
I don't see it. It's been 400 years.
Yeah, I don't think that here's the thing. I don't think that we're going to get that because.
So at what point?
Because we got a black president, so to speak. We got that, and that didn't make us any better. It didn't carry us any further. All it did is bring all of the races out of hiding.
Right.
To say what they
which was a good thing. Right. We definitely needed to see him. It made it easier to identify.
Yeah.
In fact, I said that he was nothing more than somebody who's going to be symbolic, whether he likes it or not. You know what I mean? And I was happy that it pissed off some people. That was fun. But yep. I knew nothing was going to change for black people.
No, and the thing was that no matter what he wanted to do, the only thing that man did that messed them all up, that they can't do no matter what they want to do, is Obamacare, because he systematically made it constitutional so that they would have to completely change the freaking Constitution to get rid of it. That's why it hasn't gone anywhere. And that's why you don't be talking about it anymore.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to get the votes for that. Yeah, I understand. Do that, you have to get 2/3 of all 50 legislatures in the United States and the Congress. That's impossible to do. To do that, but
so that's the only good thing that he did, is that he forced. It may not be the best national health care, but he forced a health care thing in, and they took out the meat of it, but they couldn't make it go away.
Right.
But
let me just make this right.
Go ahead.
But let me make this quick point without going too far into it. I understand clearly, and I think a lot of people do deep down who may not want to say anything, but I can say it publicly because the chips can fall where they may. I understand that in order for change to happen, and I understand change, everything changes all the time, because I understand the independent existence of matter. I know that everything changes all the time, but the change that we need, it has to be to the degree of a total transformation of society. These people are just totally resistant to that. So it would be like it would be like pulling a good tooth. So I'm not at all, even though I'm very well versed in the political process here, study that well, know how laws are passed. I understand what goes on in these committees. I know how the bill gets to the floor of the House. I understand the Electoral College, but the fact of the matter is, I think that people who are African descent have been systematically fixed. You know what I mean? Even when you are successful, it's really nothing more. I don't say this because I'm a college grad like you are. The fact of the matter is, it's a nothing more than a visibility that you have and no power. We've had more mayors and a president, but we had more city officials than probably second to European white people, and it's gotten worse.
And see that thing, because
so it doesn't mean anything.
But they're not actual. They have no influence. They can't. It's like you and I on social media. on YouTube. That's what we're trying to do. We may not be able to do everything by ourselves, but we can influence other people, through what we're doing to get to know the truth.
Yeah, you provide the spark. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's my goal. That's my goal is to be a spark.
Yep.
Absolutely. That's been the historic role of students, by the way, in
Mm-hmm.
our community. They've always been a spark of change, spark of revolution, spark of radical reform.
Exactly. I mean, because
We
that's
and there's
that's
and
that's
there's
what we're here for. I mean, that's what
right,
I came to YouTube for. But what I
right,
was going to say is that that's that's the reason why. I mean, everything always is going to come back to really the cradle of humanity, and the cradle of humanity is the continent of Africa, and
right.
that particular continent, it is so. I mean, it embarrasses me that the continent that started everything that mankind started on is like third world compared to the rest of the world, and
Yes.
it's just not right. It's like that land has been raped of its culture, of its history. I mean, we had our ancestors on the continent had all kinds of things that are just now coming back into fruition because the originals were destroyed.
Right.
I mean, you see evidence that ancient Egyptians were trying to fly,
Right.
that they were trying to make
Yeah.
things
Just
comparable to things that we have in modern day.
yeah. Absolutely.
I mean,
So
so I agree, and I think that a lot of that is the reason why the continent is the way that it is. But the real answer is that the countries in Africa need to put on their big boy pants and come together, because it's
what's
not.
the process?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but
It's a process. Yeah.
that's what it's going to come to, because the thing is that the largest continent should not have the least influence.
Yeah. Well, the revolutionaries understand that we're clear. That's exactly what our goal is. Um, you know, but I do believe that we need to be more conscious of that as well. It's just that I think that we're an extension of Africa.
So
I think that's how we really should see ourselves in
here's my
America.
question.
Africans born in America,
Hmm.
and it's also an extension of Africa, and in a unique position to be of some assistance as some of these forces are beginning to develop and mature and move toward independence. Because as we were talking last night briefly, it has to be an armed struggle phase to that, because they have had these resources and had this influence in Africa for far too long, and they're obviously not going to just deliberately step aside and say, okay, they're not going to let it go without a fight,
Going to be
since they're so
revolution.
dependent. They're
Each
yeah,
country is going
since
to
their
have to
economy
fight
is
for their for true independence.
right. Since their economies have been so dependent on African resources for far too long. They're just not going to, as I said earlier, no matter who's it hurts or inconveniences, as long as they can benefit from it. See, that's how not only racism but imperialism. That's how it works. It has to have something to deprive and exploit, and that's what people really need to just uh, when it comes to this
And we live in
country,
an
this
imperial
policies.
world. We live
It's
in an imperialistic society. I mean, the entire world.
y- y-
It's that's what we live in.
yeah. I would ask people to look at the imperialist concept and also look at neocolonialism. They got to really study those two things because they're hand in hand. It's sort of a dual action in terms of the exploitation on one hand and the domination on the other.
And
Because
see, when you
really, that's at the heart of the problem.
And see, when you think
I'm
about
sorry.
all of these things, in all of the things that we talk about, what we're doing is we're uncovering fallacies that are being taught generation over generation in regards to the establishments of countries, like our own country. All of these fallacies that that are being put out there as historic. And to your point, Matt, I didn't learn African history until I was in college. I took African history classes in college, and I took them when I was at an HBCU. When I transferred to the PWI, I'm sorry, I didn't. They may have had some African study classes at USC, but I didn't. I didn't see them. I think I took a women's study course there. Yeah, I think UCLA has a good African studies program though, as does
Right.
Berkeley, as does Berkeley. But USC didn't have that. But I did take one in college. But even though I grew up in DC, which is obviously a very very black city, um, you know, our education system is just like every place else. So outside of Black history, you know, even in world history classes, you didn't really learn a lot about Africa, because a lot of the world history ended up being European history, or it would talk about the Ottoman Empire, but it really didn't talk a lot about African history. It talked about other cultures' histories other than the Africans' histories, and the only way Africans' histories really came into it is when they were being conquered. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's
That's
about
why
it.
you only find solutions outside of the walls of college, though. Everything that I've studied and I continue to study, I found outside of college,
Yep,
though. I
that's what
must
I'm saying.
say
I
that,
took one class when I was
unfortunately.
in college, and I mean, even though it was an African study, African history class, still I took it at an American school. So, and our textbooks were written by Americans. So, you know, in saying that, I can only guess that I was getting some of the history, but probably not the full history, because it talked about some of the tribal histories. We got some of that, but I'm sure what we got in the history classes that I got here is nothing compared to what the truth probably is over on the continent.
Right.
You know,
So, I mean, in terms of us, so I mean, just getting back in terms of us being in America, yeah, sure. I mean, we're definitely here physically. I do believe we're in different levels of survival, though.
oh
But
yeah,
it's time for the drive for power. So I would ask, do people really think, as people of African descent in America, that you can actually have power in this particular system with who controls the decision making ultimately? Or will it have to be something external to actually buttress our goal of somehow eviscerating white supremacy from our lives? Because they're certainly not going to stop on their own accord. That's been my belief. They're not going to wake up and be enlightened and say, okay, we're done. No, the only time someone has stopped victimizing anybody, it had to be by force. And so, since we're not ready to do that here, obviously we're not. It's been 400 years, and here we are. Our people are still suffering by and large. Maybe not us here in
yeah,
this chat, you and I says, but I mean, what happens to one African
oh
people,
yeah,
African descent, could happen to any of us anywhere.
exactly.
That's my belief. So,
I mean,
so
and
I think
I'm looking at the chat. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the chat. One of the
sorry.
people in the chat is talking about. Yeah, they're talking about some of them are fighting now to take back the farmlands. Yeah, you're correct. In Zimbabwe, they're trying to get their farmlands back, and then Trump is trying to tell them that if they want the aid, then, well, why don't you sign over your land?
Right.
Yeah, that part.
See, it makes it easy. Yeah, and that's what makes it easy when the nations are individualized. That's the way they made them. They're nation states. See, these are European creations, as you know. So they can very easily just push a button and make a decision, make calls. They have CIA stations up and down the length and breadth of Africa. So they're always observed by America, by
Yeah.
the Mossad as well. The Mossad.
Didn't you say that there's some that I gotta see if I can search for it as well, that there was some map out there that shows how Africa was divided into tribal lands before the European.
Well, they were territories. Yeah.
Tribal
You can just
territories.
you can look at you can go to Google and just put in pre-colonial Africa and go to images and it'll show you. That's all you have to do.
Let me look it up.
It'll show you right there, and you can see where they were right before European colonialism. You know, the late 19th century. At that particular point, that was the latest point that they were physically viable before those countries took over and started carving it up for themselves.
Okay, yeah, I got it. I pulled it up. Let me see.
So, yeah, that's how you would find that.
It has. Yeah, I'm looking it up because you have like.
But there were nations, though.
Yeah.
You see, so what economic science was, you had the family, you had the clan, you had the tribe, then you had the nation.
Yeah, and Congo was one of the Congo land. That was one of the biggest territories.
Right. So that was a nation. So that's the territories are based on the nations themselves.
Yep.
The territorial nations. Yeah.
Cape Colony. I'm just looking at all the different names. I mean, it's like at least 50 different tribal territories here, almost as many as the countries that they cut them up into. I'm looking to see if I can find a list. Let me go back. Let's see. Oh, here we go. List of kingdoms in Africa. Let's see. Egyptian Empire, the Kingdom of Kush, Carthaginian Empire, let me look. The Puts, the Swahili, I guess the Swahili. Yeah, so it's going into all of the different ones. It's based on some of the, but I haven't even some of these I've never even seen in some of these names. Like like some of the tribes may have been kind of melted into other tribes.
Yeah, that may not be the broader territorial boundaries, though.
Yeah. No, I don't think
that might be a little different.
Yeah, let me look for something else. Let me put it up here. Territory map boundaries.
If you put, you should put pre-colonial Africa in the browser. That will
get
you where you need to go. If you
put in the pre-colonial territories. That's what I put in.
Oh, put in pre-colonial Africa though. Try that.
Yeah, I put in pre-colonial Africa territories because before it just gave me it gave me kingdoms. All the ways that they conquered.
Okay.
But then now it's still giving me the Kingdom of Kush, Ghana, Put.
Because you're talking
the Zulu,
right? Because you're talking.
Yeah, so they're going through the ones that we know, the major ones. They're not giving some of the minor ones.
Right, but it looked a little different by
Yeah, the
the
map
19th
is different
century.
because you can see like Congo is like in the middle,
Right,
and it covers what is now modern day several different countries, so to speak.
right, right.
It's like
Yeah,
they just split it up arbitrarily.
so yeah, it should be like the 19th century. If you can find, if it, I don't know if that's it, but the that would be the actual. That's where they were.
Yeah, give me one.
You know when.
I'm pulling it up too. I'm pulling up the picture, pulling up the
Yeah,
map.
yeah. Because that's it. Yeah, the other ones are kind of like just a breakdown of the smaller.
What is it doing?
See, the difference is that Africa always had tribes, but tribalism in and of itself was a foreign creation that came in with colonialism. I don't know if a lot of people understand that either.
I don't think so.
They think, yeah, they think tribalism is organic to Africa, and they don't understand that it isn't. They've always had tribes. Tribes and tribalism, by the way, is two different things. Tribalism was used by the colonialists to actually gain the control of many of the tribes and the chiefs specifically. They had to control the chiefs so they can control their people in those particular regions.
And okay,
So
and what would you consider a tribe versus tribalism?
well, again, the tribes are people that are made up of a linguistic uh, with in a certain specific area. They didn't have any problems like that. But what the colonialists did when they started to stratify the society, so you start to see urbanization happen. You start to see certain types of educational processes put in place. They were enlisted for certain types of jobs, labor. Uh, those who were brighter went back to the mother country to be schooled to make them really Africans that could better serve the colonial administration. Those things were going on in the early period, and to a large point, even today, in a modern sense, all the roads, the train rails, the shipping, the ports, all of it was constructed to take all the resources out in favor of the colonialists. So they wanted Africans to serve them. And when they couldn't do that, then if they could control the actual tribes that wanted to stay and segregate themselves, well, they had to figure out a way to control the chieftains, the chieftaincy. And that's
I
what they
think
did.
I found what you were talking about.
And
I think I found what you were talking about. Like because it has the
okay.
Bantu states.
Right.
It has the Bantu states on here, which include Congo Kingdom, Lunda State, Luba State, Bandwizi Empire, the
Right.
Great Zimbabwe Empire,
Okay. Yeah.
the,
There you go.
the
All right.
Fulani, the Benin,
Right. There you go.
Yoruba, Akan, the Kingdom of Kangamba.
Right.
Yeah, so this is the real one. This is the one you're talking about. Yeah, because
Right. And so
yeah,
yeah,
had it in
it's
their own imperial systems.
right. And so that was just a way so they could forestall any national liberation movements because of a lot of the exploitation that started that they could actually see that was going on in Africa that wasn't before, but started when the French and the British and the Portuguese and all the other European colonies got there, or colonialists got there and started taking over Africa and taking the mines from them. Already knew what the mines were. They knew what all that stuff was. It's not like it was something that they didn't know and the whites came and discovered it first. That's not true. That's also not true.
But
But
looking at this,
by the way,
map, Terry, the one thing
hmm
that I find interesting about it is that the African peoples, they weren't using the entirety of the lands. They only were in certain parts. There were parts of Africa that were kind of like no man's lands. It didn't mean nobody
but
lived there.
no,
They weren't
well
organized.
that was their territory though.
Yeah.
That was still they understood the territory that was there. What they didn't have was urbanization. That's what the West brought in for themselves, which is what I was saying. When they started to stratify the society, urbanization started, and you had a spread. But they understood where their boundaries were. See, to me, it didn't matter whether or not if they never went out there ever, if they never wanted to hunt it or do anything, they understood that was still there. There wasn't Europeans, obviously.
Right.
You understand? But it's dialectical because Africa had a evolutionary unification at that particular time. It was kind of, we don't know how close it was because it was interrupted by colonialism, but they were it was a sort of a unification effort that was going on in terms of how it was. They were in a communal setup where property was shared amongst the people, sort of just like the Indians.
So they were.
The Native Americans.
They didn't really have the privatization of property on the continent, just like. So it to me it sounds like.
Well,
go ahead.
They were organized. They had they were sophisticated. They had a sophistication and an organization to it. They had elders, they had council, they had constitutional monarchies in some spots, and others they had tribal chieftaincies, hereditary, that kind of thing. But it was very, very orderly. You understand? They had a social economic order to it at that particular time that suited Africa.
Right.
So it was something. It was non-exploitative. What marked pre-colonial Africa was the egalitarian, the democracy of the people, of everybody, and then the humanist principle that people were more than a means to one end. You understand? They were to be treated as a means to enjoy everything society could offer. They wasn't just limited to something because someone else thought they should. So they had egalitarianism, they had the humanism part of it. That's something that we want to bring out in a modern Africa as well. But that's what marked pre-colonial Africa at that particular time. So that's why I can say you had tribes, but you didn't have tribalism. Tribalism is something that they brought in to actually, number one, put schisms between certain factions. Number two, to control chieftaincies, and number three, to stop any drive to liberate themselves from the colonialists. That's what tribalism did.
And to keep them,
and of course, it developed later. Well, it actually developed later on as they drew these borders. It actually sharpened the differences between the people as they were moving forward with carving up Africa. And making them nation states. Yeah. So they've maintained that now because of that. Because after a few generations now, we're talking over 100 years.
Yeah.
So well over 100 years. So it's been institutionalized because of that. You understand? It's just kind of like in a way, hearing the word nigger so much in the plantation, you see all these black people call themselves that.
That is very.
It's kind of the same. It's
that's very
kind of comparable to that.
It's like no matter what you want, we can't get rid of that daggone word.
Right. So so it's comparable. That's comparable to the other.
And I'm like, I mean, we all know that word came from white people's ignorance and not knowing how to say Niger for a Nigerian, someone who they had stolen from the country of Nigeria. Right. That's what it was about. I mean, or from the territory of Nigeria, because that territory already existed.
Right.
You know?
Well, it's nothing more. Yeah, it's nothing more than a synonym, as far as I'm concerned. They can, these cats in the hip hop and all these people around here who want to say it and make all these excuses why, but it's a synonym. It's just, everything. It's just a aid. You're aiding and abetting white supremacy.
Yep.
Either consciously or unconsciously when you use it. And I think it should be done away altogether. Shouldn't be used at all.
I know, but it's like it's just they. I'm not even gonna get into like the whole conversation about the N word because we'll be here forever on that one because our generation has a different understanding of it than the younger generation does. It's
right. That's definitely
it's like you and I are going to be on the same point to have that conversation. We would need someone who's younger to be on the panel to give a different perspective of it than we have because we just have
definitely another live stream. Absolutely.
Exactly. I said that would definitely be one. We need someone who's we need a millennials perspective.
Right.
We need a millennial perspective on that because, some of them understand our issue with it and then some of them don't. I understand, if maybe the only time they were using the word is behind closed doors, but, and it was no longer being out in public. The thing is that because we as a people use it, it makes other people think that it's okay for them to do it, even though it's not.
Right.
And though it's a word that, some people, like to use in jest or with their homies or whatever, the original use of the word was an insult.
Right.
Same as women who call themselves a B.
Right.
Same thing.
Absolutely. Right.
Same thing. Why are you calling yourself that?
See, if you're actually serious, if a people are serious about throwing off the yoke of the negative aspects of a dominant culture, they have to consciously do away with all the negative things that they've been taught. Now, I understand some of these younger people probably haven't understood that, but some of us who have studied these things and know where it actually originated from another race should understand. So all those things that were taught, if we want to really get back to who we are, some of these other things we're going to have to put in the trash bin of history consciously. I don't use the word except in the third person as I did earlier.
Yeah.
I don't call anybody that at all.
I still remember the first time my sister had somebody call her that at the age of 5. Okay. Right. And you know what I'm saying? Some little white girl that she thought was her friend. I knew them people was racist. I knew that the parents were racist. I knew it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And this was in the 70s. And we were moving from DC to the white suburbs. Them white people did not want us out there.
Right. I expected from them.
So that's what I'm saying. I grew up in the 70s. So yeah, I've got a very different perspective of it because my first dealings with that word were not in a friendly way. That was somebody called you that was usually somebody of another ethnicity, and it meant that we about to fight.
Right, exactly.
We about to fight.
Absolutely. See, so yeah, I agree. I think the younger crowd tends to mislead a lot of unwitting white people to think that they can use the word too, like blacks do. It shouldn't be used by us or them, but it definitely originates from them in the first place. They're people, their ancestors, and I know there's a psychological aspect to that in terms of us acting inferior and being seen as inferior and being made, sort of manufacturing us and assigning us a second-class citizenship. And by and large, it has worked. because that's what we see. People, it rolls off the tongue just as easily as I can put on my socks. You know
We
what I
have
mean? I mean, it's
accepted
part
it.
of
We have
it's a
accepted it.
negative part of the culture.
Exactly. We have accepted
But
it. We have made it part of our culture, but that does not make it positive just because we have accepted it. It, you can't
in order for us to be,
go ahead.
I'll go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say
No, you go ahead. I'll
I was just going to say just because we have, just because as a culture, we have accepted it and tried to turn it into a positive, that doesn't take away the negative connotation that it originally had. You can't change what the word was just because you want to.
Right. I agree. That's why I say it's nothing more than a synonym when they say that kind of stuff. Make these. I've heard a lot of the excuses. The term of endearment. This is my friend. Just so they can say it. You know what I mean? I I hear all these rap songs. I mean, I think these guys, in order to get the deal, they probably have to have about 100 N words in these songs in order to get paid, probably, because every other word you can count. Third or fourth word is that word. I mean, I think they have a lot. I think they love to hear themselves say that. I mean, I think that's where it's gotten to with a lot of these people. But I think in order for us to make the transformation to throw off the yoke of white supremacy in terms of our mindset, that's got to end, though. And until they want to let that go, it's not going to change. Because it actually starts with the mindset. And if they keep doing everything they can to justify it, it just forestalls our liberation and independence that we so sorely deserve, and it's going to continue on because we're going to be really part of the problem. We're going to be part of the problem. We're going to keep delivering ourselves to the dominant culture, and they're going to keep controlling everything.
And that's,
see, this is about, to me, this is about the productive forces of the world. It's not so much about somebody liking me or loving me. I want to control a certain amount of resources so that we can be a strong people. They can still hate me, but I don't want them to have the wherewithal, the power and the wherewithal to act on it. That's the difference. So it's not an attitude so much. It's not a feeling. It is how much land and resources and industry do we have to protect ourselves.
Yep.
You understand? That's where this is coming from. That's the goal for me. So all these things have to happen. I mean, we can't continue to call ourselves the N word and think we're going to be free.
And then I was going to say,
it's not going to happen.
The thing is that is a very American term, because nobody else in the diaspora thinks of themselves as that. When they think of that term, they think of that as a term for us here in America, the ones of us who got dropped off over here. Same thing. I mean, same thing with people on the continent. They think we're foolish calling ourselves that.
Right. Yes.
They think we're foolish.
Yeah. We're just aiding and abetting the racism against us. That's all we're doing. We're actually, and I think they love that,
because
they've taught us well.
Once again, they know that it is from ignorance, mispronunciation of someone from a specific area on the continent around the Niger River. And so that's the thing is that, first of all, the majority of us, I can say, probably our ancestors didn't even come from that part of Africa. So why would you even want to give yourself a name of something that is a mispronunciation of a region in Africa? I'm just saying.
Well, the most ignorant excuse is they think it's cool. It's part of the cool. Yeah. Of all things that matter, we need to be free and independent. They care about that.
Africans take that as an insult. That word is an insult, that we allow ourselves to be called that. Do they not really know that?
Nah. If they did, they wouldn't care. As long as
probably they don't care, but they don't understand that it makes us. It just It just
The
us.
Khazars.
It makes us look ignorant within the diaspora.
Absolutely. True. The Khazars who control media, they control the music. They probably require the most negative, the most reactionary brothers and sisters to get on the mic. Because you notice now that's what it moved to in the last 20 some odd years. It moved to these people being negative, calling themselves the N-word. As we just pointed out, I can pull up songs. I mean, every third or fourth word, I'm like, man, is that it? I didn't even know what the song was about because I heard the N-word so much.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I know there's something behind it. There's other forces behind that want to perpetuate that. I think we all kind of know that subconsciously that, but I think they enjoy saying it anyway. They're just getting paid to say it, in terms of some of these rappers. But
we have to see ourselves. We as a people have to see ourselves as better.
Right. And part of that is, I think the basic thing we can do is read. A lot of blacks don't like to read. They're scared of words on a page. I hate to say it.
And I'm a writer. I mean,
they won't read.
I'm almost finished with one book and have at least 4 more books I'm gonna write. Okay.
Right.
So, I'm
all this. Yeah.
A writer and an avid reader.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. All this great history of golden age of Africa, and these people are just wasting it all. Just being those sort of perpetuating inferiority and just what the white supremacy wants. You know what I mean? It makes it easier. It makes it easier for them. Not going to stop you from being any targets, but they like that. You step right into that, good. They know right where you are, and they don't even understand that at all. Because I know it was from the beginning, just socialized and passed down through the generation ahead of them. I understand that. I knew some. I guess. Well, first of all, I didn't have that kind of upbringing, but I lived in areas like that, and I understood that something was wrong here. I couldn't articulate it then like I could now, but once I understood, I said, no. This is. I mean, because I saw our athletic prowess, our intellectual capacity, but we were still being called these names by other folks. I knew something was wrong with that, and then when I started being conscious of blacks calling each other, I said, why y'all call it? These people call it. It was just that simple. Why are you copying them? I would ask that question. Of course, they would get mad. It was almost like I was trying to take something precious from them by just
that's why
questioning why they call themselves that.
Whenever you hear me say the word "regin," that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that's my way of saying it. It's my mom. I learned that from my mom. That's the old school way of calling somebody that without calling them that.
Oh, okay.
By saying the word.
Oh, I got you.
Saying the word backwards.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's what I kind of thought. That's what I thought it was. Okay.
Yeah. Call them that backwards. And the funny thing is that when we would use that word, white people didn't know what you were saying.
Right. Yeah. Notice we don't have a word for them though.
Yeah.
Not really. Not anything that's equivalent to that.
Only them stupid words. I mean,
right. And ain't no word.
I mean,
ain't no word equivalent to that.
Yeah, a cracker and a honky. What is that?
Right. I mean, I know what a cracker is. I know what cracker means, but yeah, it was a hunky peck of wood. That's not dehumanizing. It's not anywhere near the level of the N-word. I agree. I like what Well, you probably know then the cracker that was a man who cracked the whip on the blacks in the plantation. They call him the cracker man. So that's he was white, and that's what.
But it's not. But they don't take it as insult. It's not an insult to them, and they don't even.
No.
And here's the thing: the person that you're calling that word, they don't even know the history of the word, so they care less. You know the history of the word that they're calling you.
Right. They white and still got the power, so they don't care. When they wake up, they're gonna still be in power. Exactly.
I was like,
so when these people are arguing back and forth on YouTube, calling themselves, the N-word 50 times in 3 minutes, they actually think they're getting somewhere. So it kind of shows you, how and of course I guess we don't need a consensus for this change, but at some point, we got to stop. Really, we're just helping them remain in control. To me, I'm talking about the racist people. I ain't talking about the good folks who happen to be white. I'm talking about these racists who are the decision makers. These folks, because really, I kind of want them out of. Well, I do. I'll say no kind of. I want them out of power. I don't want to be ruled by anybody. I want to be independent. If I was to speak for our people, that's what I'd say. You know what I mean? And we need to start understanding that we're just coexisting with white supremacy, hoping that it doesn't hit us individually, and that's not true. It can hit you, as you well know, sis. But I hope people in the chat understand that what happens to one person of African descent somewhere, it can happen to all of us everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's going to impact us.
Doesn't matter.
Like none of us personally experienced the things that happened in Dallas. Nonetheless, it impacts the rest of us because based on that impacts how police in other part of the country are going to think they can treat a black person.
Right where you live. Right. So I this kind of critical thinking is just not common amongst those cats. They just, I don't know if they're just living in a fantasy world or they are duping themselves to actually think that is normal thinking process. They certainly think they're cool, and something's wrong with this kind of thinking.
Tearing your brother down is not. I was like, that all that does is help the agenda. You're just helping the
right, exactly
along there.
Right. And I know some of them are conscious of that, but many of them are not conscious of that, though. Many of them just individuals that they don't really, have their own ridiculous mindset.
Even though I'm not really over in that part of YouTube that much. I have heard rumblings that there are factions that are trying to get the ones that are doing all of the, crazy talking about women to stop doing the talking about women. But
right.
I don't know how that's going to work, because then you still have to get the women who are doing the crazy talking about men to stop talking about the men.
Right. So I see more of the scale tip toward the men doing it, though. Yeah. If there is women doing it, it's not very many.
No, it's not. Usually it's in retaliation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Outside of that sector of black YouTube where, with the black women who think that black men are the dust of the earth, outside of them.
Right.
Outside
I
of
get
them, it. The rest of us aren't like that, for the most part. But
I get it.
But that little one sector is really who they're aiming they're spewing at. But it doesn't matter, because the rest of us get hit with it by collateral damage, because my ears don't want to hear it either.
I agree. I agree.
But
yeah, it's to me it's kind of an exhausted
and I'm like,
topic, really.
They're not trying to be monetized, or some of them are monetized. I don't know how much longer they're going to be monetized, but okay, that's just another thing.
Agreed.
I said some of them are monetized, but I know that December 10th date is coming. It is coming.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. I mean, they're on the clock. they're on the clock. Yeah. I think that's some of the main targets of this new policy. I think they're just getting tired of it. It is counterproductive. That's all. It's just a bunch of time wasting arguments going on.
Well,
no one's getting anywhere.
Ultimately,
they don't have any congruence.
It's not content. Arguing back and forth. What kind of content is that? It's really not content.
Absolutely, it isn't. Yeah.
If you were arguing about a point, if you're arguing about a point, then maybe it's a heated discussion about something and you're having a disagreement about something. But if you're just name calling back and forth, that's not really that part. It's like, I don't mind if somebody's passionate about their point towards another person, then you can be heated about the point without calling people out of their name. That's all I
and, right. And I'm loath to say this because somebody might be listening and might try to institute this, but it could be a way that they can prolong their presence if they adopted the Robert's Rules of Orders, and I'm sure you're familiar with that.
I know.
They would probably last. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I've been a parliamentarian.
Right, absolutely. So if they understood Robert's Rules of Order, I'm sure not many of them do, if any at all. They would probably prolong their appearance, even if they could do it in an orderly way. But that's not going to happen. I mean, even with that particular subject matter, that topic, they could. They'll never do that, of course. I'm just, that's a long shot. But yeah, I mean, if they were smart though, they would do that. But they never will. They're not going to do that. They're too undisciplined for that. But
but that's true. If they did that, because they could have those panels up there, and just have whoever's live stream it happens to be, establish that at the beginning of the live stream that's the way that. And I have seen some live streams where that's the way people establish it at the beginning. They're like, look, we're not going to have nobody come up here yelling or screaming. Right. We're going to let each person get their point out, and before the next person jumps in and says what they have to say, and then it becomes a productive conversation.
Right, but as it stands now, it's just way too egotistical. People want to embarrass people, want to laugh at folks. So that's the same thing people did in the quad, these high schools and middle schools when they were growing up. It just imported the same junk, same garbage, So. I mean, they're on the clock though. Yes, I think so. I think they're.
Yeah, but that's why that's why what I try to do is like tonight, come with something different.
Right.
Instead of just dealing with the holiday, talk about what this holiday really was about. Bring a little knowledge. Bring a different kind of conversation, and that's what I don't understand. It's like there's so many things that we can be talking about on YouTube. You can actually, just get on YouTube and basically make videos and just get your point out there and do it that way without, pulling people's names into it, talking crazy about other content creators. Let everybody just create their own content and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, it's really gotten embarrassing though. I mean, it's just a whole nother level of embarrassment though. I saw some things today. I won't say. You probably seen some things. I saw a few things.
Let me just say that I have been walking around the YouTube streets just so I could get a histrionics on what led up to all the stuff that's going on currently. And
yes, when
I'm looking at some of that stuff, I'm just like, well, this person really wasn't in this until this misunderstanding. Like a lot of it is really just people misunderstood stuff. They thought somebody was coming for them that wasn't coming for them, or people wanted to insert themselves into situations so they could be relevant. And what surprised me is that because of whatever some of these conflicts were, we had individuals who didn't start out as content creators who are now content creators, but their content is based on whatever the beats were.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the influence. Yeah.
But
it's not deplorable.
Yeah, to me, it's like
it's embarrassing.
Yeah, and the thing is that with that being said, even on some of those channels, sometimes even those channels actually have some quality content. And I'm like, well, dang, if you could spend your time on on this kind of content, you'd have your channel would be a good channel. If you would just deal with this one thing.
Well, I would like to see, yeah. Well, I would like to see those particular male channels deal with, if they can just stick to uh, male improvement, self-improvement, health practices, dieting, things of that nature. I think they would serve their purpose, though. I think they really got to get off of trying to punish women all the time. I mean, it's just, I don't even listen to them. I used to when they came around, I just wanted to see what it was. But it's like, man, I am burnt out. Y'all see the same thing every time. It's like, it's almost as if it's a conscious, let me see if I can one up this guy here, what he said about women. Maybe I can make it worse over here. It's like a unsaid, unspoken competition of who can sound the worst about women.
Yeah. I mean, kind of crazy.
I think they would go far just talking about self-improvement of men, just male self-improvement. I think I know the brother from Sacramento, like I am, mm-hmm. He did that. The brother that's overseas, he did. I don't know him though. Mm-hmm. There's two guys from Sacramento, but I don't know them. But mm-hmm. they're a little younger than me. But the fact of the matter is, though, I think if they stuck to that, number one, they would get a lot, probably even more than the subscribers they already have. They'd probably get some sisters really interested in what they have to say.
Yeah,
I think that would women would flock to that, seeing somebody advocate self-improvement to black men. But I don't see that. All I see is female effery. I'm like, come on, man, it's every day, man.
Well, to me, it's like,
jeez,
those same brothers, the same brothers. I mean, why? I would love to see them like looking at things like Mike the Investor. This dude is on here giving free advice about investing, giving people stuff about what he's investing in, showing people how to do things, walking you through things. And then you have all the brothers over in the tech part,
right,
websites doing cyber intelligence and stuff. It's like, dude,
absolutely,
go learn some of that.
That's what they should be talking about, sis. I agree. That's where it should be. That should be the extent of it, right there. How to buy a house. You know what I mean? How to invest. How to be an investor. If you want to be a realtor, how to do it. Different occupations and professions that are attainable. Yeah, I'll never see that. I never see how to buy a suit. I'm serious. I mean, down to hygiene. How to buy a suit, where to go, how your wardrobe should look like, the whole 9 yards, dieting, everything.
Stop conversations on the internet. How about that kind of thing?
That should be the gamut of it. Right.
Talk about. I'm like, they did some stuff like that. They would get people to flock, because then you're right, because then women would go and listen to the channel to get the male perspective.
Right. And those are the guys who will probably get the attention from women. More than likely at some point in their lives from that point on, with their popularity. So, I mean, I'm like, man, I think they're just missing the boat on always trying to. Now, I know some of these guys, that's all they want to do. I ain't talking about these young cats that I know they intend to come there just to tear down women. I can see that. But some of these other channels that have been around a while, the older guys.
Yeah.
I think at some point, I think it's time to.
They got caught up.
Yeah, it's time to make the shift. Yeah. Time to make the shift. Now, I know one guy who's part of it, who has his own channel. He's an older guy. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. Ron Wills. Mm-hmm. I do like Ron. I do listen to Ron Wills. I like it, but the rest of those guys, I like. Nah, I can't mess with these younger guys. I mean, it's like sickening. I just want to jump through the screen and just slap them all. Like, look, man, you guys totally you guys dismissing the intent here, what you can be doing, what you could be building. But
The
I guess you're right, sister.
potential. They don't even see the potential that they could have.
Yeah. I guess they don't want to be monetized. I think you're right.
Okay.
They just want to, let me see how far I can get just irritating women, I guess. I mean, I don't think that's a good way to get to know females, you know. I mean, you know, I don't think that's very, very well. And I'm somebody who don't, you know, I don't even pursue,
Well,
but
yeah, but you
you
know,
know,
this is the way that the younger generation does everything. Everything is cyber with them. There's nothing. It's no reality. They start everything on
yeah,
cyberspace. It's like
right,
if I have to meet you in real life, you know, before I'm even thinking anything like that.
right,
Like, but it's a cyber thing with, you know, cyberspace is their reality. So that's why they do all of this stupidness. They don't
right.
have a real life. They don't have a real life.
Yeah,
You know, it's like
that would, yeah,
YouTube is their life. It's like, but as much as I may be on YouTube, I have a life. I got a job. I'm not raising my son, but I'm still caregiving for him. So I definitely don't have
right.
time for the drama.
Absolutely,
You know, and the thing is
absolutely.
that when I
Yeah.
come on here, yeah, I would love to be able to go listen to some of the younger men's channels and hear something positive, but unfortunately that's not what happens. So I skip them. And then I'm like, I'm like, well, thank God my son's not like that, or that he's not thinking that way. But if he didn't have autism, is this who he would be? You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. I mean, if they'd understood how to do it principally, what we were covering just earlier, if they understood that, they could have those discussions. But at some point, it becomes, uh, I mean, you kind of exhausted at that point, and you have to move on to something else because all they've done, I think we agree, they just angering these women, irritating them at the very least. It's just an irritation. No one wants to listen to themselves or have someone else talk about you in the negative all the time. You know what I mean? And I don't get upset when I hear the retaliations because I understand where it's coming from. Because I know it's not pertaining to me specifically. I know I'm not who they're talking about, but
Exactly. And
yeah. So
and
yeah,
to try it by a point, yeah, we're not talking about all of them, yeah, because young Pharaoh's on a whole nother tip. He's not even over there with in that nonsense, and then
oh yeah,
and then Angel as well, but it's you would think that some of these other ones would try to take a page from their book, but they own some other stuff.
yeah, right. They think they're cool. They think they're cooler than the other guys. They really do. They think I don't see how they think some females gonna sort of be attracted to that. I mean, am I wrong? I mean,
Nope.
some women.
But
You think women? Yeah, I didn't think so.
nope.
I mean, it's
And it's like that's why you look at the chicks that are in their chat praising them, everything. You look at them sideways. It's like, are we hearing the same thing?
right. I mean, it's just embarrassing and just disrespectful. I'm like, come on, man, you guys. At first, when I used to go sample and look at it, I'm like, surely you don't believe that stuff. But then it got so consistent. I'm like, oh man,
And
this is
then
ridiculous.
you have everybody has a mod wrench in some of those chats. I just have to laugh because it's like, and people get mad. They get mad about mod wrenches. They get mad about whether they have one or not.
Right. It's amazing.
They get mad about whether they have a mod wrench or not. And I mean, like some people are joking, some people joke about it, but some of them are like get serious about whether they have a mod wrench or not. So that whoever they don't like can't block them and kick them out the chat.
Yeah. Precisely. Yeah. It's crazy. I'm like, nah, obviously, we're, a whole nother, area. But when I see that kind of stuff, I'm wondering
All I can say is there's
what is the
more to YouTube than what they're doing, and they're just missing it.
right? I'm just trying to figure out. I mean, what is their goal? I mean, what do they hope to accomplish? I mean, what's the end goal here? Just to be talking as long as they can until they get off the offline for good, or get kicked off first, or I mean, they really think they're trying to do something positive? Because surely they don't think it's positive. They have no difference,
I
I mean,
know.
I would think, I assume. I'm like, man, I mean, I don't, it's just not even productive though. I mean, you should be productive if you're gonna be on this thing. As I said before, it's a plethora of things they can be doing in terms of male improvement.
Productive and positive.
Yeah,
They go.
I mean, they can. I mean, man,
They go hand in
yeah, I
hand.
mean, yeah, I mean, money. You're talking about money. You're talking about investments. You're talking about wardrobe, shoes, jewelry, accessories. Everything dieting. Anything that deals with male improvement, they have so much they can be talking about. They would never run out of things to talk about.
Nope.
Dealing with STDs, all this other kind of stuff that some males have to deal with, or whatever, limbs. All they can get into all that kind of stuff, man. But
we could.
I guess it's not exciting enough.
Wait a minute. Talk about the mortality rate among
Yes, absolutely.
African American men.
Right. I mean, it's so much. Man, I was like, I didn't think of that though, because I've been in what I've been into for for a while, and so I never thought of that. I was like, man, maybe I should have did that, but I'm just not into that. I'm into helping free our people. That's where I am politically. So
each one of us. But what I'm saying is that there's so many other avenues that they could be going within YouTube, because it's really about putting out something that's quality. And of course, everybody's
right.
Definition of what quality content is different, obviously, but quality content is just something that's original to YouTube. They came from your originality, just like people doing the skits, people who get on here and do the gaming. It's original because it's you gaming. It's not somebody else gaming. It's just, that's what I'm saying. There's all these different things. It's tons of things that people can be doing on here that are much more positive or fun.
Yeah.
Or both.
You would think. But I guess they got to be in the mix with. They like to argue, I guess. Get upset, cuss each other out.
To expand my horizons on YouTube, meet people of all different cultures, and share knowledge about the things that I want to share knowledge about, and do collabs with people that I want to do collabs with, and just continue being the influencer, and hopefully they'll catch the train, before it leaves the station, or they'll get left behind, and the rest of us will just be going on about our business. That's all we can do.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
so much could be done.
Yep, absolutely. Oh yeah, I know Tommy. And here's the thing: Tommy Sotomayor and the other one, Randy SoCal. Both of them are here in Southern California, and they act like so many people know who they are. I swear to God, I'm here. I never knew who either one of them was until I came to YouTube. Honest to God, didn't know who they were. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I guess
I remember when Tommy. So yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but I'm just saying I
remember when Tommy.
Go ahead.
I remember when Tommy Sotomayor got started on YouTube, because I came to YouTube like 6 months down the road after it started. When I started, I was obviously I was just in the comment sections, but yeah, I had the channel and stuff. But I remember him going over there. Yeah, I'm like, who is this dude? You know what I mean? He didn't have no gray on his beard at the time. I thought he was pretty preposterous even then, and even funny. I actually laughed at him at one time. I mean, I thought everything he was saying, he just did it just for shock value. I didn't think he actually believed it though. I said, "Oh, this guy." I said, I took it for granted. I didn't, new to this kind of medium at the time. It came out that year, 2007.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what? And what attracted me to actually make a channel is because it was free to do it. At that time, you probably know that you could just post videos. There was no live streaming yet. That
Yeah,
came a year or two later or something like that. But uh, yeah, so that's what it was.
yeah, and that's
But
what I'm saying. Because
most of it
I having
was
videos like when I first came on here, and I wasn't. I just created a channel to post a video for my family, so they could
right.
see it. That
Yeah,
was literally what it was.
yeah, yeah.
You know.
And now at that particular time, the most politically conscious sector of YouTube was these people who followed his name is Neely Fuller Jr. He created this book, this compensatory code of counter racism. And this brother's name is SinQ. He's still on. He doesn't have many subscribers. He's still not very popular. He's been on as long as I have. But he and I know each other from YouTube. He still recognized me. I recognize him. He was embroiled in a lot of back and forth videos with racists at one time. He was the guy at one time. SinQ, capital N, little Y, big Q. I mean, I'm sorry, big capital S, little Y, N, big Q. SinQ.
Okay.
He's got a beard. It's a lot of channels that says SinQ, but he calls himself Dr. Khalif Muhammad too. You might zero on it. Very good content, but he's a counter racist. He talks about counter racism as a solution, as
Wow.
replacing a system of racism with justice. That's his thing. He's not a revolutionary Pan-Africanist, but he understands. He was part of this at one time, and he and I kind of agreed on some things, disagree on others. But I've known him for a long time. He used to work with people. He used to do a lot of collabs back then. The black sector, it was small, but it was pretty positive. It was nowhere like it is now with this folks that we were just talking about. And people it was a lot of sisters though that was doing a lot of positive things though. That not on. I don't see them on YouTube unless they changed their channel name. I just don't see them anymore. And it was great. It was great looking at that. I didn't. Again, I was just in the comment sections. I didn't start my videos or anything until this, not too long ago. After all that time, but yeah, SinQ. Yeah, you look him up. He's still got a lot of his videos up from back then.
Yep. I know that name because I mean, like I said, even though I wasn't an active content creator, I was on YouTube. I would, I'd be in the comment section. Sometimes I'd write something. Sometimes I would just look at what other people were saying.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because it wasn't that many. Yeah, Tommy was here, SinQ, and then I started seeing them guys out of Harlem, the House of Consciousness, Sinetta, Polite came along, and then Sarah Suit Seti. I don't know if you know who he is. He works with Young Pharaoh. Seti. I don't know. Have you ever heard of that guy?
Yep.
Sis?
Yep.
Yeah. And I used to listen to him all the time. It was only after he had a class with Umar Johnson that he kind of calmed down a little bit. I like he was.
Yeah, that's another one that I used to see. I mean, I would go look at all. I'm telling you, I'd look at all these people's things because I'd just be looking. Then there was I can't even think his name. I want to say not Omar, but Tony something or another. He's a pastor in one of them Black Israelite type churches that would do his stuff on YouTube, and you'd hear.
Are you talking about James Manning?
No,
you're not talking about James Manning, are you?
No, this dude's name is Tony. His first name is Tony.
Right, yeah. I remember. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you would see people who used to go to his church talking about how he destroyed their marriages. I mean, they would just talk.
I remember that.
Like they were nothing. all in the name
Yeah.
of God.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, you're right, sis. I remember that. It wasn't too long ago, by the way.
Nope.
Not too long ago. Yeah.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I do remember that.
I mean, and then I would, I would be all in the the conspiracy theorist parts of YouTube. That's where I used to spend a lot of my time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with all
Right. Right.
yeah. Especially since I was into all of that stuff before YouTube. So of course I'm gonna go look into that, to see compare what I knew from before to what's on YouTube.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it was. I thought it was fun. It was fun back then. It wasn't. None of this stuff was going on back then. It's because it's distracting now, but back then, and let's just say it was quieter on YouTube. It was less what we have here. There was no Voltron. There was no. It was just House of Consciousness, basically. They were feuding amongst themselves. It may still do that, but they were the ones that had everybody's attention. Very, very smart. I don't know if you remember that. It used to be Sarnetta against Polite against Ali Muhammad, Suit and Seti against Polite. It was ridiculous. Going back and forth, and then that's when
I would just be popping around looking, and I was just like, what the. That was like,
yeah,
that's why that was another reason. Like when I decided to come on YouTube, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be talking about autism. I said, but I'm like, clearly, even though my experience is wide, I really want Black people to hear what I got to say, because some of the stuff that I have to talk about, is really about how it affects our kids. Specifically. Yeah. But just seeing some of the things that that they're talking about versus what they could be talking about. But I'm just hoping it's going to get better, because you are starting, because you see channels going away every day. A channel is going away.
Yeah,
channels are going away.
Yeah, I mean. And intuitively, I think we knew at some point that something had to happen. It had to be something had to get. It just couldn't continue on, because I think in my mind, the next step is people are going to, since this doxing is going on, I really think people are going to start visiting each other, and it's going to be worse. There'll be some physical violence going on if it's allowed to continue. So I think at this point in time, it may be a timely thing to do is start cutting some of these folks up out of here.
And you know what I mean? And now at this particular point, finally, in regards to the doxing, YouTube is starting to make there be consequences, because there were never any consequences. There were no consequences to the doxing unless the person who was doxed took legal action against them.
Yeah, that's definitely dangerous. No doubt about that. That just crossed the line altogether.
I mean, no, because you got people like Tasha K, who literally had to move. Like
I heard about that. Yeah,
literally had to move. Pregnant, move.
I was either I was her first or one of her first subscribers. I have a wrench over there, but I never hardly catch her. Yeah, I knew her from when she used to do parodies. It was hilarious.
Mm-hmm. But she's been on for a long time.
Yeah. I remember she was just getting started. Yeah, when she did them lives, I used to be sitting there messaging her, it'd be her and me. And then she had a couple of people come in. She had some friends, and then she tried some collabs. This was before her and Lovely T. That was later, but she did some things with some other people that probably not on anymore. But yeah, she used to call me by name all the time.
I used to like Lovely T, but after that stuff with her and Tasha, she kind of showed her true colors,
Really? Yeah.
To me, more in her issues with her own self, even though, it's like,
I never knew what happened.
Being a dark girl, it was just a lot. There was just so much lying and manipulation and stuff that was going on that they were doing. I'm like, y'all tripping, this girl pregnant. Y'all tripping with her while she pregnant. What's wrong with y'all?
So what was she doing to Tasha though? I mean, what was Lovely T doing? I never got the gist.
Basically, they did some type of collab, and Tasha was trying to help out Lovely T, and Lovely T turned on Tasha and made it seem like it was Tasha. Same thing happened with Candace, the one who does daytime tea time. She did some. She got with. She allegedly. Let me just say, she allegedly got into cahoots with Armand, and they tried. They basically tried to do some stuff to Tasha. Tried to dox her.
I mean, do you know? Oh, but why? I mean, what was that? I mean, just for no reason, just out the blue, let's dox her,
Haters.
or was it some
because
perceived slight?
Because every time, because despite all the stuff these people keep trying to do to that girl keep blowing up. She been on TV now.
Yeah, I saw her. I saw her on a video of a reality
YouTube,
show. I saw that.
I was
like, what?
Real Housewives of Atlanta.
Yeah, I skimmed that one time. I said, that is her.
Yep.
Because I saw her face, but then I saw the name there. I'm like, what? Yeah, I checked that out. I told her she was going to be big. I said, oh, yeah, you're going to be big, sis. Because she's funny.
Yeah.
You should, I'm telling you, this girl could be an actor because she used to do these parodies. I'm telling you, when she first started, she won't do them now. She'll have to now. But the sister's funny. She could be a comedian. I mean, but she's not being as funny as she could be now.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean? She's cracking them jokes and all that, and
I think
signifying, but that don't mean that.
Her goal is to have her own show off of YouTube.
Yeah,
I think that's what her goal is. But
right.
I mean, that's what it's to me. Every time when people start to blow up, other people on the platform, other ones of us, it's like we try to tear folk down that are blowing up on our platform.
Right.
I'm like, shouldn't you be happy that there's some of us that are getting big?
Exactly. Because obviously, yeah, she exponentially grown faster than probably Lovely T did. She got to that point faster. No doubt about that. Because she hasn't been on all that long, but I mean, because I looked one day, I'm like 100,000. I looked again, like 200. Like, damn, she is rolling. I knew she was gonna be big.
That's what the issue is.
I knew she was gonna.
That Lovely T been on here for like 10 years, and Tasha came in and blew up past her.
Yeah.
You know?
In the same time frame.
Tasha's well on her way to 1 million subscribers. I think she got like 800,000 something.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I wasn't surprised. I told her, I said, yeah, sis, you going, yes, indeed. I saw it right there and there. I said, yeah. I wasn't surprised so much, but I was like, man, you got a lot. Cause I stopped. I had to, cause I was doing other things in my real life. And I came back to visit. I'm like, damn, it was just months. I was just gone for like 2 or 3 months. I'm like, oh, wow. She is blowing up. So it was very nice. It's very nice to see.
I've been subscribed to Tasha for a long time.
Right. Yeah. So she gave me a wrench like maybe the first week. She was up. And I still every time I go over there when I catch her live, I still got a wrench. But the chat is going so fast, she can't see you. So I was like, all right. But yeah. So I was very proud of her.
Day one. You were her day one.
Pardon me?
I said you were her day one.
Yes. Yeah, that's what she used to call me. Before everybody else got involved. She don't see me now, but yeah, she's calling me all day. Hey, day one, how you doing? I used to catch her on Facebook. I was just proud of her. I was like, okay, sis, you really getting down. But now she's a serious. She's making the big butts now. I was like, all right, shit, that's what's happening. That's how you do it, I'm.
Yeah, and I think
very
her husband is in the IT field, so he keeps her stuff hooked up.
Yeah. Okay. See, that's great. Really, that's refreshing to see that. I don't see her doing anything wrong. She just she's a hard worker. She works that hard.
It's just
It's paying off. That's
to
all.
me. And I mean, you had literally, it was a bunch of the females that got into it. They were going back and forth. They would be having these 4, 5, 6. I think they even had one of them all night trash talkers slumber party.
Really?
Called on
Oh,
Fox.
wow.
I'm telling you. It was just like the stuff that's going on right now in Black YouTube. Dealing with it, but it was dealing with it was bigger YouTubers, bigger Black YouTubers that were doing all this craziness. And that was,
see, I don't understand that.
That was going on. That was going on earlier in the year. I mean, they were going on simultaneously. It's just that, that was getting more, obviously, because they were so much bigger. And now we have the smaller YouTubers that are doing the same kind of BS fighting, same kind of stuff. It's the same old kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just hating instead of just letting everybody get their have their say what they want to say. Don't nobody talk about nobody else. Do what you gonna do. I do what I'm gonna do, and everybody be happy because there's room for everybody.
Yeah. There is. Exactly. That's what I can't understand. Don't they not know that?
I don't know.
It's much room for all of them. I mean, it's I'm surprised at Lady T. I mean, I would think she'd be more mellow than that. I mean, she's been around a long time. She's got what? Isn't she like 250,000 or more subscribers herself? So she's up there, isn't she?
Yep. But
sis, yeah, she's up there too. I don't understand. I just don't understand the resentment. I mean, she's got they probably share subscribers, I'm sure, to a large extent as well.
Yeah, I mean,
more people coming in.
Here's the thing: despite the stuff that happened, and Lovely T, and then allegedly with Candace, I still subscribe to both of them. It's just I don't necessarily go. I'll go and check out their stuff, but when 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 Lovely T get on her little crazy stuff, talking crazy stuff about people, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not one of the videos I want to watch, and I move on.
Okay, because I haven't observed that. Maybe that's why I can't see that in her, because I haven't seen them yet. I gotta go check them out then.
Yeah. I mean, I still check out Candace and everything. It's I check them all out. I mean, but one I would love to see really blow up is I Am Eloho.
I haven't seen that person yet. Okay.
I Am Eloho is her channel. She kind of does on different things. She'll do beauty stuff or whatever, but she's a New Yorker who is her parents are Nigerian. So
okay.
So she's a first generation Nigerian American, and she does a lot of brown, talking about colorism and all that kind of stuff. Beautiful girl. I think she has. I think she's under 100,000 now, but she should be blowing up shortly.
Yeah.
She's another one that has.
Oh, that's cool.
She has some good content. I Am Eloho.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. There's room for all of them. I mean, yeah. I just don't understand. I mean, everybody's got different ways of doing it, different styles. I don't think it should be criticized. I mean, as long as they're positive. I don't think Wow, that's crazy. I wouldn't think that of Lovely T though. I'm shocked.
I'm telling you, it was a big old thing because Lioness of Judah was involved in it.
Right.
Lioness of Judah was involved in it. That other chick that's down in the South, I can't even think of her name for right now. But it was a few of them,
Wow.
I'm trying to. They had a slumber party because I walked through the live. I came in early and I said, "Oh, they talking some mess." I came back 3 hours. They were still there talking the same old mess. I came through when they actually had pulled Tasha into the conversation. Yeah, it was one of those kind of things. It was,
Wow, that's
yeah.
crazy.
So that's why I'm like, you know, and then
Shocking.
and then they finally stopped tripping and realized, let's, you know, everybody need to be about their coin. So now everybody's trying to be hopefully about their coin, you know, because they're those are much bigger channels. Y'all, it's like, do you really want to lose your channel over some bull?
Right. Wow. So it wasn't a misunderstanding. They just attacked Tasha because they didn't like the fact that she was growing so fast. That's what it is.
And
Was that?
Then part of it was around that, and then part of it too, you know, Tasha, you know, was just dealing with all that Cardi B stuff, and
Okay. Oh,
and
all
some
right.
of
I
the
didn't know
other
that.
people, you know, Cardi got to them and they took money or whatever, you know, from Cardi, and now they're on the Cardi B bandwagon, and so of course that's the reason for them to attack Tasha. Yeah, that's part of it too. Stupidness. I'm trying to tell you. I'm like, Cardi ain't paying you. What's wrong with you?
Goodness, man, that's a shame.
And the thing is that, you know, just knowing the kind of, you know, how she's been, she has tried to help several people, and I think she finally got the right combination with Storm.
Oh, okay. Somebody named Storm. Okay.
Yeah, Storm Monroe. It's a brother. And
okay.
Brother. That's why I said it's a brother. He was in Arizona. I mean, he has his own channel. His channel's starting to blow up too. He moved from Arizona to Atlanta, so he's there in the same, you know, in the same city with Tasha, and they've done some collabs on his channel and on hers. But she's getting ready to move everything to a studio, so she's not even gonna be doing her channel out of her house pretty soon.
Big time.
Yeah.
Good. It's good for her. That's great.
Yeah,
great,
and then Storm just got his MBA.
Oh, that's great. Good for him.
Yep.
Outstanding. Yeah.
Yay. So, but you know, he does the same kind of stuff that she does. You know, the gossip stuff.
Right. What university did he get it from?
I'm not sure. It probably. I'm thinking it was probably University of Phoenix, because he was able to go wherever he was. You know, from Phoenix.
Okay.
You know, from Arizona to Atlanta and still be able to finish up.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So I'm thinking
that'll do it
online.
Cool. Yeah, that's definitely a good degree to get from there. Absolutely. No, that's okay. Well, I wasn't aware of all the activity with them sisters though, because I don't go to Tasha like I used to, because there's so many people there now. I don't get to talk to her no more. She don't recognize me now.
Yeah, I was like, it was in.
It's understandable though,
because that's how I met Jovi Beauty in Tasha's chat. That's how I met her, and I'm on her thing, and that's how I met. That's how I met Ledford in Jovi's chat.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's how I met him.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's like I wasn't even. I mean, and Jovi is the one who told me just to go ahead and do my channel. Just do it. You need to just do it.
Yeah.
Just do it. You know.
Yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably do something tomorrow myself. I'll probably drop one or something.
Yeah.
I don't decide what it's going to be on though. It'll be politics, but I don't know exactly.
I think my next one is going to be on the term autism mom and why we call ourselves autism parents or autism moms, autism dads, because no other disability do parents call themselves by the name of the disability.
Yes.
Yeah, so I might do one on the history of that term that we use. Just something fun.
Sounds good. I'll definitely be awaiting that.
That'll probably be the next one to do this week. I'll probably do that either tomorrow or Saturday, because I need to drop something other than the live stream this week.
Yeah. Well, I'll say that for me, I was brainstorming to do something to call out coons, not by name, just not
Mhm.
essentially not YouTube, but
Right.
just in general and on the
Yeah, I
planet.
would probably.
I think I might,
Yeah, that would be an interesting
yeah,
one.
yeah, just the coons, people who are just deliberately aiding and abetting white supremacy. That's what I
Yeah,
usually
I
charge
don't
them
even
with.
understand. It's like I don't even get that. It's like you know, like for me, I'll just say this for me. That's one of the reasons why I like working from home now because I'm just a picture on a screen. Yeah, they know I'm African American, but here's the thing. I was working for the company for 4 years before I ever was in an office that somebody saw
Yes,
me. And when they finally saw me, it was after I had gotten a promotion. I got the promotion sight unseen. How about that?
outstanding,
Based on work.
Impre-
And
impressive. Yes,
that's how it works with this company. All my promotions have been sight unseen. And as I get a promotion, every time I get a promotion, that's when I go into the office. But I did just recently find out that I'm not the only African American that's in middle management. I just found out that one of the men on my team is black. But
yeah,
you and the only reason I found that out is because we had a team call and everybody started talking. And when I heard his voice, I knew he was black.
right, yeah,
But I couldn't. But it's like with us because our names are Anglican. You can't tell you can't tell by my name what my ethnicity is.
true,
You know.
true. We've all got them. We've all got
Yeah.
them.
But
Yeah.
I know we're coming up on almost 3 hours, guys. And I know,
All right.
I know most of us don't work tomorrow. I know I don't. Thank God. I'm
All
off.
righty. Yeah.
I am off until
Yeah.
Monday with pay.
Outstanding. That's great. That's
So
good.
I
Yeah.
will. I would.
Well, yeah, sis.
Yeah, I will probably be on doing the daytime at least once.
Uh,
At least once during the daytime tomorrow.
okay. Well, I
Uh,
certainly appreciate it. Once
yeah.
again,
Yep.
it's been real.
Yeah, no, this was a cool talk. And I hope that I gave people some knowledge, and that you yourself as well, that we, just gave them some knowledge in regards to this particular holiday and just what it truly is about versus what we celebrate, and just
Yeah.
kind of to dispel some of the myths around Thanksgiving and also around the relations between the colonists and the Native Americans, you know,
Yes.
because to continue to, go along with that myth really um an insult and a mar history of the Native Americans. It
Yeah.
makes them seem like simple-minded people, and it makes it seem like they have a non-existent history prior to um, the colonists invading their land,
Absolutely.
which we all know is not true. And then also from the perspective of the fact that a lot of Black Americans also have Native American in their blood because of us being enslaved, with them.
Absolutely.
People don't talk about the fact that many of the Native Americans were also enslaved, you know, but they couldn't handle the strenuous work, so therefore they brought us in
Right.
as work mules, and they did not think
Yeah.
of us as people. We were animals to them, even though they knew we were people. But they,
Yeah. They had less.
but they're sin, but but for them to feel superior to us, they had to think of us as non-human.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. The as far as their resistance to things like the flu and colds, and viruses. They were weak in terms of that. And yeah, we were much stronger, so it was more logical, I guess, from that
But
point of view, to bring in the Africans in. Yeah.
had it not been for us, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the reason that sickle cell anemia exists is because it has something to do with us being brought over here and catching and malaria.
Yeah.
I believe that's the whole reason why it that caused it, and that's the reason why it's primarily within, you know, Black Americans. There, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in Africa, because it does. It's an anomaly, but it's only in certain parts of West Africa. But now it is now starting to affect the Latino community in the United States, probably, obviously, because of them mixing with us. Because of them mixing with us, they now have more sickle cell anemia in their culture as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
notice how it doesn't affect any other ethnicities.
Yes, I do notice that. Absolutely.
I'm like, what is it about our blood? I'm just
Yeah.
saying. But we've been on here for 3 hours, so I know that everybody's tired. And I appreciate you guys hanging out. I appreciate you coming up, Terry. I do not, take for granted this time, because you could have been doing anything else on your Thursday night, besides spending this time with me. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys' support. And
It's always an honor, sis.
yeah, and I'm hoping that, every time we do these things, that every time we bring some little bit of knowledge, that's the whole hope with it, is to just
Right. And
empower people with knowledge.
right. And motivate people to read and research these things for themselves and get them verified and move forward in their education and reading.
Yep. But I just wanted to make that point about sickle cell anemia, is that really exists because of our ancestors being enslaved. It wouldn't.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't even think it would. It really existed. It was a survival. Their blood adapted so that they could survive.
Absolutely.
But I appreciate it, guys. So until
Sis.
tomorrow.
That's right.
Or today, rather.
That's right.
It's already today.
All right.
Happy Friday, y'all. Oh, and it's Black Friday for those of you who are going to be doing that stuff. I don't really participate in that for obvious reasons. But if you are, more power. More power.
All right.
I don't particularly care for that name for it either. But we're going to let that. I think maybe that'll be part of our conversation tonight.
What is that again? Can you give that to me again, sis?
I said maybe that'll be part of our conversation tonight. Talk about the origins of Black Friday, what it's really about.
Oh, okay.
What it really was.
Yeah. I haven't studied that. You'll have to definitely tell me something about that. I would love to discuss that with you, but I'd be doing more listening.
Yeah.
No.
So I probably will bring a little knowledge on Black Friday tonight. But thank you guys for coming.
All right.
Thank you, Terry, for coming up. And until later
Pleasure.
on, you guys. Peace.
All right.
From the West Side. Bye, everybody.